Hello and welcome to Programs and Me YouTube channel. In this Python programming video series for beginners, we are discussing conditional statements. In the previous tutorial, we talked about if statement. Today, let's talk about if-else conditional statements. We can use else block with if statement and we can call it as if-else conditional statements. If-else conditional statement in Python is a decision-making statement. Executes a block of code when a specified condition is true and executes a different block of code when that condition is false. Here is the syntax. If condition, if body, this is the syntax of if statement. Then we can add else block to this if statement. Here we need to mention else and here else body. No need to mention any condition with else. You just need to mention else. It is a keyword. Then colon, then else body. We already know the syntax of if statement. If is a keyword, condition here, colon and if body, right? Here, if this condition is true, if this condition is evaluated as true, then if body will execute. If this condition is false, then the code inside the else block will execute. Here, this if part tests a condition. If it is true, the code inside the if body will execute and else block is skipped. If this condition is false, then else block will execute. The code inside the if body is skipped. Let's take an example. Here we have an example. First, we'll ask the user to enter input, integer input, that is enter your age. And that input is stored in this variable called age, right? Next, here we are using if-else conditional statement. First, if age is greater than or equal to 18. Here this if is a keyword and this is our condition. This condition is evaluated as true or false based on this input, right? If this condition is true, then Python will execute if body and it will skip else block. If this condition is false, then it will skip the code present inside the if block and it will execute the else block, the code inside the else block. Okay, so let's save this and execute this. Let's enter our age as 17. Sorry, you are not eligible to vote. When I enter age as 17, it will check this condition. 17 is greater than or equal to 18. It is false, right? So we'll get false here. This if condition become false, so Python will skip this part of code. It will execute else block. So we'll get this message. Also, after executing this if-else conditional statement, it will execute the next statement, that is, it will print this message. So we'll get output as, sorry, you are not eligible to vote and done message. Now, if I enter my age as 22, then you are eligible to vote, done message. When this condition becomes true, when age is 22, 22 is greater than 18, so we'll get this message, you are eligible to vote. This else block is skipped. Then after completing this if-else statement, this statement will execute the next statement present in the flow. Okay, I hope now you understood how if-else conditional statement works, how else block works with if statement. Any expression or value can be used as a condition in an if statement, but Python will evaluate it as either true or false internally using its truthy or falsy values. As I explained in the previous tutorial, you can use any value or expression as condition in the if statement. That is, you can take value equal to 0 here and you can take this as condition, value equal to 0. Now if I execute this, we'll get 0 and done as our output. Here you can see that is because here value is 0. When we take this as our condition, Python will internally evaluate it as true or false based on its truthy and falsy value. Any value which is 0 is evaluated as falsy. So it is evaluated as false in Boolean context. So it is false here. It will execute else block. So we'll get output as 0 and done. If I take any other value other than 0, like value is 10, then we'll get value and done. Because this is evaluated as true. Internally it is evaluated as true because it is a truthy value. So we'll get this message. Python will skip this else block and it will print next statement. And Python uses indentation, space or tab to define code blocks. and you must be very careful about that. Both if and else blocks must be indented at the same level. Incorrect indentation will cause errors. For example, if I take here like this, save and execute, and here we'll get error. Unindent does not match any outer indentation level. And also remember, you can use only one else with the if statement, one if statement. You can't have more than one else block with the if statement like this. This is not valid. Alright, next. When to use if-else conditional statements in Python programming language. When you want to make decision based on condition, use if-else conditional statement. When our program needs to do one thing if something is true and another thing otherwise, then we can use if-else statement. And when we want to handle different inputs differently, when our program reacts differently depending on the user input, then you can use if-else conditional statement. When you want to skip a block of code when a certain condition is met, you can use if-else conditional statement. When you want to validate some data, you can use if-else conditional statement. We can check whether data meets certain condition before proceeding. And if you want to check whether a list, tuples, strings are empty, then you can use if-else conditional statement. If you want to check errors to catch and respond to errors or unexpected situations, you can use if-else conditional statements. To improve user experience, to provide relevant feedback or option based on conditions, you can use if-else conditional statements. Okay, so this is about if-else conditional statements, or in other words, how to use else block with if statement. Okay, so that's it for now guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will meet you in next class. Till then, take care.